What is the most effective way to talk someone out of marrying a non-Jew?
It's a little bit difficult to say this is the most successful way, because everybody responds differently to different things. As they say, different strokes for different folks. But I'll just mention two things which I think in most cases this could be effective. Number one is actually a book called How to Stop an Intermarriage. And he has a story there of a young man that no matter how much they spoke to him, they could not convince him to discontinue the relationship with someone who wasn't Jewish. One day the rabbi invited him to come to the synagogue at night. And then the rabbi says to him, okay, come, let's go to the sanctuary. Sanctuary, the lights were off, there were no services, and the little light above the Aron Kodesh was shining. And he says, Rabbi, what are we doing? There's no services here now. He says, don't worry, I'm the rabbi. Walk over to the Aron Kodesh, says, okay, now open it up and take out a Torah scroll. He says, why? There's nothing happening. It's okay, I'm the rabbi, you can do it. Takes out a Torah scroll. And he says to him, now take the Torah scroll, throw it on the floor, and stamp on it as hard as you can. He says, Rabbi, I can't do that. But I'm the rabbi, I'm telling you it's okay. I'm rabbi, I'm sorry, I just can't. And the more he talks to him about doing it, the more he just can't. Then he finally says to him, I want you to know that by marrying out of the faith, you're trampling and stamping on the Torah in a much worse way than stamping on it with your feet. And that registered, and he gave up the relationship. What happened here was like this. Obviously, he had a feeling for Judaism and even for Torah. Otherwise, why would he care to do what he asked him to do? But he didn't identify that marrying out of the faith is, God forbid, stamping and trampling on Hashem and on the Torah. Once he made that connection and he realized that, then he realized it's not what I want. And very often we find that boys or girls who are ready to intermarry, they're not ready to give up their Jewish identity. They just don't associate. They don't think that intermarrying is getting in the way. And if that could be brought out to them, that through intermarriage, you're, God forbid, cutting off your connection to Judaism, if it could be explained to them, very often that would be enough of a reason. To give another example, a young woman once told me that everybody in her family tried to convince her not to marry a non-Jew. Nothing worked. Her room was filled with books and tapes, cassettes, anything you can think of. Nothing convinced her. One day she read something in a book, and that's when she decided not to. What did she read? That if she marries somebody who's not Jewish, then her daughter can't marry a Kohen. And that's pretty shocking. All the other things, her father having a heart attack, everything else didn't work. Her daughter can't marry a Kohen, why would that do it? And she said she didn't understand herself, but that's what happened. And later, when she began to study more, she explained it to herself, that in her mind, marrying a non-Jew doesn't mean that she or her child is less of a Jew than anyone else. Once she heard that her child can't marry a Kohen, in her mind, that was translated as, my daughter will be less of a Jew than anyone else. That I don't want, and she gave it up. Even though, in truth, she's not less of a Jew, but that's the way she perceived it. And once she perceived it that way, she gave it up. So we see that even people are ready to intermarry doesn't really mean that in truth they don't want any relationship with Judaism. They just don't associate that this is cutting them off. Another thought, perhaps, is that very often people argue that the people that are religious and they don't believe in intermarriage is because they think that Jews are superior and other people are inferior, and I'm a person that everybody is equal, I'm open-minded. So it has to be explained that that's also a mistake. When the Torah says that a Jewish man or woman shouldn't marry someone who's not Jewish, it's not based on the fact superior or inferior, but the Torah is saying that these are two people, no matter how amazing they are and how good they are, but the combination of them coming together in a marriage is destructive. To use an analogy, fire and water are both very important elements. Fire is an important element, water is an important element. You can accomplish a lot with fire and a lot with water. But there's also a possibility to bring the two together, then you can accomplish much more. How do you bring fire and water together? You put the water in a pot, and you put the pot on the fire. The fire boils the water, and now you can cook things. Imagine if somebody would say, wow, if fire and water together can accomplish so much more, then why put the water in a pot? And the pot separates the fire from the water. Let's put the water on the fire itself, and now they'll be even more together. And the answer is, if you do that, you'll destroy the water or the fire. There's no way they can coexist. The purpose of that separation is that they can coexist together in a healthy way. So therefore, men and women that are amazing people, but doesn't necessarily mean that the combination is a healthy combination. Everyone agrees that a brother and sister don't marry, and a father and a daughter don't marry, and a mother and a son don't marry, and it's not because superior and inferior, just this is a combination that is disaster. And the Torah is testifying, a Jew has his mission in this world, a non-Jew has his spiritual mission in this world, and they should respect each other, they can work with each other, but the closeness is so close, like through marriage, that's destructive and disaster. And very often, when they get to understand that, they also realize that this is a beautiful person, but for marriage, it's inappropriate and it's actually counterproductive.